And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another college basketball live stream here on YouTube at Sports Bonanza John and on Twitch at Sport Guru John. Sunflower State battle between the 19th ranked Kansas Jayhawks and the Kansas State Wildcats. Bill Self returning to the court for Kansas as their head coach tonight in this one. We'll preview this game in just a moment. First of all, let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for doing your will upon us, Lord. And look over all these players, fans. Please keep everyone safe in this game tonight and continue to do your will and keep us all safe as we ask and pray this in your name. Amen. Kansas and Kansas State. Big rivalry in the Big 12. Kansas coming in 14-5 on the season. They are 4-2 in Big 12 play. Kansas State struggling a little bit. They're at 10-9 on the season, 1-5 in the Big 12. Finally got their first conference win this past week against Utah. That snapped a 5-game losing streak for the Wildcats. Kansas coming in winners of 4 of their last 5, including 3 in a row. And a tough stretch coming up for the Jayhawks, 2 consecutive top 15 teams after this one. So they feel they have to get this one against their rivals in Manhattan tonight. Kansas, I mentioned on the season, 14-5. On the season, this is a Kansas team that averages just shy of 78 points a game. Meanwhile, Kansas State comes in on the night averaging 85.3 points a game, so they do have the points per game advantage. P.J. Haggerty coming off a 34-point game in Kansas State's win over Utah this past Tuesday. That was an 81-78 final. P.J. Haggerty, a 34-point performance. So Kansas State looks to keep that momentum going in this game against their rivals from Kansas, as they are just about to tip off at Bramlage Coliseum in the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas, meanwhile, as I mentioned, is on a current 3-game winning streak. They have won 4 of their last 5. They had that loss at West Virginia 2 weeks ago and then have reeled off wins. They blew out at then undefeated number 2 Iowa State last Tuesday before beating Baylor and winning at Colorado in their last game on the season. I mentioned Kansas has 2 tough ones after this. That's why they feel they have to get this one. They host number 13 BYU next Saturday at Allen Fieldhouse. And then the following Monday, a week from this Monday, they travel to Lubbock to take on number 12 Texas Tech. Texas Tech got a big home win today over Houston. So Kansas with BYU and Texas Tech next up on the schedule. This is a game they feel they have to have against their rivals from Kansas State. Looking at the top 25 scoreboard from today, we had 3 undefeated teams coming into today. Miami of Ohio was off today. They play again on Tuesday. They're 20-0. Nebraska earlier in the day went to 20-0 as they defeated Minnesota with a big second half, 76-57. And the other undefeated team, number 1, Arizona, they were the AP unanimous number 1 this week, and they showed it as they absolutely destroyed West Virginia, 88-53 earlier today. As those were some scores from earlier. Other games, number 2, UConn had to go overtime to defeat Villanova, 75-67. Number 4, Purdue lost their second in a row as they lost at home to number 11, Illinois today, 88-82, that final score. Told you about Texas Tech's big win over number 6, Houston, earlier today. That was a 90-86 final there in Lubbock. Another blowout winner was number 10, Michigan State. They won by 43 points today over Maryland, 91-48. The defending national champions, number 16, Florida, they were upset at home today by Auburn, 76-67. Number 21, Georgia, goes on the road and gets trounced in Austin by Texas, 87-67. But here at Kansas and Kansas State, lineups look this way. Flory Bidunga, Bryson Tiller up front for Kansas, Trey White, Jamari McDowell, and Melvin Council Jr. in the backcourt for Kansas State. Taj Manning, Doran Buka up front, Nate Johnson, David Castillo, and P.J. Haggerty. Mentioned Haggerty coming off that 34-point performance in Kansas State's win over Utah earlier in the week. So just about set to go in Manhattan, Kansas. Bill Self, the head coach of the Jayhawks in his 23rd season at the helm at Kansas. And meanwhile, Jerome Tang in his 4th year as head coach at Kansas State. Bramlage Coliseum is rocking. Set for the Sunflower State battle, Kip Kissinger, Brooks Wells, and Tommy Johnson, the officiating crew tonight. As we are set to go on a Saturday night in Manhattan, Kansas. A snowy Manhattan, Kansas, as I say, snowy for most of the country today. And the tip is controlled by the Jayhawks, and we are underway. First possession of the game for Kansas. This is Council Jr. on the outside. Over it comes now to Jamari McDowell. McDowell with it, now gives it off in the corner. Shot clock at 10 for Kansas on the opening possession. Now the drive inside, and the layup is good for the first points of the game. That's a layup for Bryson Tiller, and Kansas leads 2-0. Kansas State with their first possession of the ballgame. I'm going to try to get these. I've got the TV at a distance. Numbers are a little hard for me to see on Kansas State. There's a 3 for Taj Manning to start it off for Kansas State, and it's a 3-2 lead for the Wildcats. Trey White on the outside. And now the jumper just inside the foul line is up and good for Flory Bidunga with his first field goal. 4-3 Kansas just over a minute in. Yeah, the purple numbers on the black jerseys, little difficult to make out my distance from my TV here. So. Kansas State with it outside on the wing. Shot clock down to 5. This will be an open three-pointer on the way that's too strong and rebounded by Bidunga for Kansas. And at the other end, a 3. That's off the front of the rim short. And Buka with the Kansas State rebound. And the pull-up just inside the foul line, no good. Buka's tip, no good. A third try for Buka, and it's blocked, but we're going to have a foul called. First foul of the game goes against Kansas. It's on Trey White. Boy, nice hustle there by Doran Buka. And he will head to the line. Junior out of Italy, 7'2". First of 2 up and no good. Buka has one more coming. Averages about 3.5 points a game. Missed them both. And Jamari McDowell pulls down the long rebound for Kansas. Jayhawks bringing up the floor. McDowell with it on the outside. He'll back it out. Now goes inside. The cross-court pass into the corner. But nice defense there for Kansas State to prevent the three-point shot. And now the turnaround by Bidunga is no good. And rebounded by the Wildcats, rather. First of two meetings between these teams this year. They meet in the regular season finale in Lawrence in early March. Nice pass inside. The layup will not drop. Kansas State gets the offensive rebound, and now an open three is good by Nate Johnson. And Kansas State leads at 6-4. Nate Johnson, averaging 11.5 points a game on the year, has his first three in this one. Badunga on the outside for Kansas. To Trey White, and the White's jumper from the foul line is short. Rebound pulled down by the Wildcats. And now here comes another three-point shot. That's well short. And loose on the floor, still loose on the floor, and we're going to have a tie-up. Possession arrow will keep it with Kansas State. First substitution of the game for the Wildcats. Marcus Johnson checking in. Elmarco Jackson coming in for the Jayhawks. Inbound comes. This is Johnson on the outside. Off it goes to P.J. Haggerty. Haggerty on the outside now looking to drive. 5 to shoot. Haggerty gets inside, gives it off. They're going to have to put up a long three here, and it's Johnson, and it is short. And that's going to be rebounded by the Jayhawks, Elmarco Jackson. Council Jr. with it for Kansas, off to White. And now the drive inside. Instead, the kick back out to a wide open Trey White for three, and he drills it. Trey White was wide open on the outside and drills the three-pointer. And the Jayhawks are back in front, 7-6. Four and a half minutes into this first half. Pull up from just left of the foul line is no good. Rebound pulled down by Kansas. Trey White bringing it up the floor for the Jayhawks. And the path and driving inside and getting the basket for two is Kansas. And it's now 9-6. And we have a Wildcat down in the paint area. As we are hitting the under 16 timeout. 19th ranked Kansas, an early 9-6 lead over Kansas State here in the first half. Kansas State opening just 2 for their first 9 from the floor. Both those field goals, 3-point field goals. Kansas 4 for 7 from the floor. But Kansas State getting it done on the glass. Doran Buka already 5 rebounds for Kansas State. He's singly out-rebounded Kansas right now. And it is a 9-6 early lead for Kansas as we are at our first media timeout. Couple more top 25 games yet to come. Number 8 Gonzaga has just tipped off at home against San Francisco. And tipping off at the bottom of the hour in Tuscaloosa, number 17 Alabama hosting Tennessee. Gonzaga's jumped out to a 6-0 lead over San Francisco. So we'll see how the top 25 poll shakes out this week. Number 4 Purdue has lost twice this week, so they're going to take a pretty good tumble. Arizona, unanimous number 1 this week. I have no reason to think that won't stay. the case, as they absolutely destroyed West Virginia today. Number 2, UConn survived a scare from Villanova, having to go overtime to win that one. And with Nebraska's win, we'll see if that vaults them into the top 5. We've got a big showdown coming up in Ann Arbor coming up on Tuesday night. Undefeated Nebraska at number 3 Michigan. Could that be Nebraska's first loss, or will they keep the undefeated season going? Arizona, Nebraska, and Miami of Ohio, the 3 remaining unbeatens in college basketball. And here in this one, in the battle for the Sunflower State, Kansas has an early 9-6 lead over Kansas State. Kansas State has actually won the last 3 meetings at Bramlage against the Jayhawks. And we are just about set to resume following the under-16 timeout. Darren Peterson out again tonight for Kansas with that ankle injury. Kansas has suffered a bit with him on the bench. They're down about 10 points a game with him out. So following the timeout, the Wildcats inbound. Kansas brings a little bit of pressure, but the Wildcats are going to break it very easily as they get up the floor. C.J. Jones checks in the game for the first time for Kansas State. Shot clock down to 10. This is Marcus Johnson on the outside, and a bad pass. Kansas knocks it away. There's only 5 on the shot clock, and Kansas State has to get back into the front court. And now a long three-pointer is no good. Rebound pulled down by Kansas. Kansas State now 2 of 11 from the floor. Elmarco Jackson with it over to White. And the Jayhawks reset as Council Jr. backs it up near the midcourt stripe. Council Jr. looking, goes inside, and the shot in the paint is up and good for Bryson Tiller. That's his second field goal, and the Jayhawks are up 5, 11-6. 7-0 run currently for Kansas, and that three-pointer for Kansas State is no good. Another rebound for Buka, and then we have a foul. That is 6 rebounds for Doran Buka in the game's first 5.5 minutes. P.J. Haggerty to inbound the ball for Kansas State. Andre Kostick comes in for the first time for Kansas State, replacing Marcus Johnson. Haggerty to inbound. C.J. Jones with it. Jones on the drive. Jones looking for help. And now finds Buka underneath the basket, and he slams it down. Doran Buka with his first 2 points, and it's an 11-8 lead for Kansas. Here's Bryson Tiller getting inside, and he will put it up and in. That's 6 points early on for Bryson Tiller. So he's hit his first 3 from the floor, 13-8 Kansas. Nate Johnson with it for the Wildcats. He'll pull up, and we have a foul called here. It's going to be against Kansas. That's their third of the half. They're going to get Bryson Tiller with his first. Wildcats to inbound from under the basket. Jamari McDowell returns to the Kansas lineup, replacing Tiller. Wildcats bring it in. 6.5 minutes into this first half. Shot clock down to 8 for Kansas State. The kick out, and now the shot clock down to 5. Driving inside, and Nate Johnson will put it up. No. Tip, no. Another offensive rebound for the Wildcats, and now a top of the key 3 is an air ball. and it'll go out of bounds to Kansas. Jayhawks up 5 at the 13-minute mark of the first half. Melvin Council Jr. brings it up for Kansas. Council on the drive, sends it back out now. And the drive inside, and we have a foul. That'll be the first foul of the game on Kansas State, but it will be a shooting foul as Marco Jackson was driving to the basket. Foul is on Doran Buka. That's his first. Marco Jackson heads to the line. Sophomore out of Marlton, New Jersey. First of 2 free throws up and good. One more coming for Jackson. And good. 15-8 our score. Kansas up 7. And that jumper's no good. Buka, the offensive rebounded putback. That is 8 rebounds for Buka. 15-10 Jayhawks. Trey White with it for the Jayhawks. White will pull up from just to the right of the foul line. It's no good, but it's tipped out, and Kansas gets an extra possession. Council Jr. on the drive. Council Jr. gets inside and scores it with the right hand. Council Jr.'s second field goal. He's got 4. 17-10 lead for Kansas. PJ Haggerty dribbling on the outside. And now a three-point shot on the way is good. Andre Kostick with that 3. And it's 17-13. And there's a turnover. Kansas State gets the steal. And the Wildcats almost turn it over as well. And now Kostick will try another 3. That's good. Back-to-back 3s for Andre Kostick. And just like that, the Wildcats have pulled within 1, 17-16. Two three-pointers in the span of about 30 seconds for Kostick. And the runner at the other end is good for Council Jr. He's got 6. And that stops the 6-0 run for Kansas State, and the Jayhawks are back up 3. Kostick again for another one. He's hit 3 in a row. Oh, and Bill Self not happy, I think, with the defensive effort, or lack thereof, Jayhawks have put on Kostick. And we're tied at 19. Council Jr. on the drive. Bounce pass outside. And now inside the paint, the jumper goes down. Marco Jackson now with 4 as he has his first field goal. 21-19 Jayhawks. PJ Haggerty. Here's Kostick. Kostick will lose it out of bounds, but it's knocked out by Kansas. It will stay Kansas State ball. And we are in a timeout. 21-19 Kansas. Up by 2 nearly midway through this first half. Andre Kostick off the bench has picked up the hot hand right now for Kansas State. But Kansas, 69% from the field, 9 out of 13. Kansas State, 7 of 19 shooting for 37%. Bryson Tiller and Melvin Council Jr. leading the way so far for Kansas, 6 points apiece. Kostick leading the way for Kansas State. He's got 9. We told you about Kansas's schedule coming up. 2 consecutive ranked opponents, BYU and Texas Tech. Then they have a home game against Utah. And then they have 2 more top 10 opponents after that. They host number 1 Arizona Monday, February 9th. Then they travel to Ames to take on the 9th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones. So home to BYU, at Texas Tech, home to Utah, home to Arizona, and at Iowa State, the next 5-game stretch for Kansas. That is a nasty stretch coming up for the Jayhawks. Kansas State has not an easy 5 games coming up themselves. After Kansas, they will travel to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. That'll be on Tuesday. Then next Sunday, the Wildcats host number 9 Iowa State. Then they will travel to TCU, back home to Cincinnati, and then go down to take on the 6th-ranked Houston Cougars. So 2 top 10 opponents coming up in the next 5 games for Kansas State. So both these teams do not have easy schedules going forward. The Big 12, very, very tough conference and a very good conference. Following the timeout here, we are just about set to resume. Following the timeout here, Wildcats inbound under the basket. Haggerty with it on the outside. Haggerty drives. Haggerty gets in the paint. Haggerty has it blocked. Haggerty retrieves the loose ball, but the shot clock's going to expire. Shot clock violation against Kansas State. Haggerty tried to put that up over Flory Badunga, and he found out that didn't work. Back come the Jayhawks the other way. Pass underneath is knocked out of bounds by the Wildcats. It will stay Kansas ball, 17 on the shot clock. Jayhawks to inbound from under the basket. In it comes to Badunga. Now Melvin Council Jr. on the outside. Council, the runner. Instead, it's an alley-oop pass underneath, and the finish for Tiller on the feed from Melvin Council Jr. 23-19, Kansas. Bryson Tiller now with 8, a perfect 4 for 4 from the floor. Here's Johnson at the other end for Kansas State. Johnson with it now on the outside. Thought about the 3. Now will pass it up. Shot clock down to 8. Johnson on the drive. Nate Johnson puts it up. That shot's blocked by Badunga. You're not going to be able to go over him. That's 2 blocks on consecutive trips down the court for Badunga. Tiller now backing his way in. Tiller passed it right to a Wildcat. That's a Jayhawks turnover. And that's going to be a treble dribble. Johnson was a little unsure if he wanted to go up with it or pass it and forgot to put the ball down. And it's a double dribble violation against Johnson. Second turnover for Kansas State. Doran Buka, after a breather, comes back into the game for Kansas State. Jayhawks bring it in, up 4 at the 8:40 mark of the first half. Jaden Dawson, who checked in the game for Kansas, has the ball now. This is Badunga from the foul line. Shot clock down to 10 for Kansas. Badunga underneath. Badunga tried to go up with a dunk, but missed it. Tried to go over Buka, and he may have altered that. And here's another 3. The 4th 3 of the half for Andre Kostick. He's got 12. Kansas the other way. That's going to be a goaltend, I think. It is a goaltend, so count that basket. So it's 25-22 Kansas. The 8:08 mark here in the first half. This will be a 3-point opportunity, actually, for Elmarco Jackson. There was the goaltend, and there was also a foul. And Jackson will complete the 3-point play to put Kansas back up by 4. 8-minute mark, first half. Up the floor come the Wildcats. Haggerty with a deep 3-pointer. That's too strong. Rebound pulled down by Kansas. Haggerty, after a 34-point game in the win over Utah in the midweek, he's 0 for 5 from the floor today in this one. Bounce pass goes to Jaden Dawson. Back over to Badunga. Badunga back outside to Dawson. 10 to shoot for the Jayhawks. Dawson puts it on the floor. Dawson able to save it. And the alley-oop pass, and is going to be a foul. The pass tried to go inside to Badunga, but he was fouled by Nate Johnson. And it will send Badunga to the line after the under 8 timeout. 26-22 Jayhawks. 7:23 to play first half. Good first half so far in Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas still at 69% shooting, 11 out of 16. Kansas State, meanwhile, 8 out of 23 for 35%, 6 of 13 from 3 at 46%. 13 of Kansas State's 23 field goal attempts have been from behind the arc. 6 for 13 from 3-point range, just 2 for 10 from 2-point range. Kansas State has a 12-9 edge on the boards. Doran Buka, Kansas State, 8 of those 12 rebounds for Kansas State. Buka on the season only averages 3.5 rebounds a game, so he's more than doubled his rebound per game output here in this first half. Coming up at the half, we will run down the top 25 scoreboard and look at some games of interest around college basketball for this coming week. There are some good ones. And update you on other sports news across the sports world. Had an NFL coaching hire today. One of the coaching vacancies in the NFL was filled as of earlier today. So we will talk about that and probably run down the NBA scoreboard as well. Coming up at the half, in a game that sees Kansas leading Kansas State 26-22. Do want to tell you we'll be back. It's going to be a busy day on the live stream tomorrow on YouTube and Kick and Twitch both. We started off at 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow afternoon with a college basketball game out of the American Conference, Florida Atlantic and South Florida. 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow for that one. That is the next game on the live stream. That will be on YouTube and on Kick. So following the timeout here, Badunga will be at the line for Kansas. Badunga, 71% free throw shooter on the season. First of two up and no good. One more coming. And he misses both. Rebound pulled down by Kansas State. So 0 for 2 at the line for Badunga. Wildcats down 4. Now on the outside, Haggerty. Wildcats reset here with 10 on the shot clock. Kostick, who has the hot hand from outside. He'll try another one and misses for the first time from the outside. Rebound pulled down by Kansas. And Kansas has it knocked out of bounds. It will stay Kansas ball. Jerome Tang expressing his displeasure with Kip Kissinger over there on the sideline. Boy, Doran Buka looks like he might have tweaked his right ankle on that previous possession down underneath the Kansas State basket. And Jerome Tang is challenging this out-of-bounds call. It was called Kansas ball. So Jerome Tang is challenging. If you haven't followed college basketball real closely because of college football and football season going on, this is a new rule in college basketball this year. Each coach gets one challenge to use during the game. If you win that challenge, you get to keep it and challenge later in the game. But if you lose the challenge, you do not get the opportunity to challenge again, and you're cost a timeout. There's none of that automatic review inside of 2 minutes in the second half. It has to be a coach's challenge now. But coaches can challenge anytime during the game with the risk that if you don't win the challenge, you lose the ability to challenge for the rest of the game. So Jerome Tang using his challenge here with 6:49 here in the first half. It was called Kansas ball on the floor. And the three officials are getting together here. And here's the call. And the call is going to be overturned. It is going to be Kansas State ball. So Jerome Tang wins the challenge, so he will get to keep the challenge to use later on. This is Buka with the basketball for Kansas State as we hit 6.5 to play in the first half. Now on the outside is Nate Johnson. Johnson on the drive, kicks it out for a wide open three that is good. Taj Manning with his second three-pointer. Kansas State's seventh three-pointer of the first half, and they're back within one, 26-25. Jayhawks back the other way. Taj White with it. He'll go up with a wild shot that's too strong. Rebound pulled down by the Wildcats. And now a three-pointer for the lead is good. Kansas State is on fire from three-point range. As David Castillo gets this one to go, that will lead to a Bill Self timeout. Kansas State 8 for 16 from three-point range in the first half. And they have taken a 2-point lead, 28-26. Bill Self you can tell he is not happy with his team's defensive performance right now. 24 of Kansas State's 28 points have been from behind the three-point arc in this first half. Kansas brings it up following the 30-second timeout. And the drive inside is blocked. Back comes Kansas State. A rejection under the basket. And now Haggerty drives inside, gets double teamed, will kick it back out. And the Wildcats will reset. And here comes another three-point shot. This one's no good. Rebound pulled down by Kansas. McDowell on the outside for the Jayhawks gives it off to Council. Melvin Council Jr. on the drive, kicks it out for a wide open three that's no good. That's just Kansas's third three-point attempt here in the first half. Wildcats pull down the rebound. Under 5 to go, first half. Buka with it now for Kansas State. Haggerty had a quiet first half today. Pass in the paint. Backing his way in. Now kick back out again. 5 on the shot clock for Kansas State. They're going to have to put up something here. And now on the drive, the turnaround is blocked. That's another block for Kansas. And at the other end, we have a reach-in foul called against the Wildcats. And 2 shots coming at the line. Melvin Council Jr. at the line. First is up and good. Bryson Tiller returning to the Kansas lineup, replacing Jamari McDowell. One more free throw for Council, this to tie it. He missed the second. Kansas now 4 for 7 from the free throw line. They're just 1 for their last 4. Castillo with it on the outside for the Wildcats. Off it goes to Nate Johnson. Johnson back outside. A deep three for Castillo is no good. Rebound pulled down by Kansas as they look to retake the lead this trip. Up and under. What a shot there for Melvin Council Jr. And the Jayhawks are back in front by one, 29-28. Castillo brings the ball up for Kansas State. And a bad pass there taken away by the Jayhawks. Council. Outside it goes to Dawson. Dawson outside. Council for three. That's off the front of the rim. No, but Badunga pulls down the offensive rebound. Flory Badunga backing his way in. Turnaround with the right hand. Won't go. Rebound Kansas State. And a late foul called. This one's going to go on Nate Johnson. That'll be his second. A late call. As we hit the under 4 timeout, 29-28, Jayhawks in a tight one, up one. Late first half in Manhattan on a Saturday night. Again, coming up at the half, we will run down the top 25 scoreboard and run down some news from other action in the sports world. That is coming up at the half. San Francisco giving Gonzaga a battle in the first half. Gonzaga only up 5. 3.5 to go first half in that one. 26-21 is that score. They are underway between Tennessee and Alabama. Alabama is up 14-8 in the first half. SEC, a very good conference. Again, that Tennessee team, talking about Tennessee a little bit down for their standards this year, but that's still a pretty good team over there in Knoxville. As we are just about set to resume following the under 4 timeout here in the first half. Had a couple top 25 upsets today, which we'll tell you about. And a near upset in Stores. Kansas ball out of the timeout as we approach 3 minutes to play in the first half. This is White off to Council. Council going inside. And the turnaround with the left hand up and in. And Bryson Tiller went over Doran Buka for that shot, and Tiller becomes the first Jayhawk to reach double figures in the first half. He's got 10. 31-28. Castillo with it. Inside it goes to Buka. Buka outside to Nate Johnson. Johnson will reset. Again, the shot clock down to 5. That's been a factor a couple times in this first half. Buka inside with the left hand. That's too hard. Rebound pulled down by Tiller. Back come the Jayhawks. Tiller outside it goes for a three-pointer off the back rim. No good. Rebound pulled down by the Wildcats. Haggerty goes up and gets fouled, and he will shoot 2. PJ Haggerty a chance to get on the board for the first time here in the first half. Foul is going to be called on Elmarco Jackson. That'll be his second. Been a low foul first half. That's only 4 fouls on Kansas. Kansas State's been called for 5 in the first half. PJ Haggerty averaging 23.5 points a game, third in the NCAA, but scoreless so far in the first half on 0 for 5 shooting. Jerome Tang still having a discussion with Kip Kissinger. He's been a little vocal all first half. It's like Haggerty might have gotten banged up on that foul underneath the basket, but he is going to the free throw line. First of 2 up and good. Haggerty on the board. One more free throw coming for PJ Haggerty. This to cut it to 1. 2:12 remaining in the first half. Haggerty hits both. 31-30, the Kansas lead. Council brings it up the floor as we hit 2 minutes to play in the first half. Council with it. Over it goes. Now going inside with it. And the turnaround and a foul is called as Tiller went up for the shot. You're going to get Taj Manning with his second foul. So Manning and Nate Johnson, 2 fouls apiece for Kansas State. And Bryson Tiller will head to the line for the Jayhawks. 10-point first half leads the way for Kansas for Bryson Tiller. First of 2 up and good. Nate Johnson, after a short breather, returns for Kansas State, as does Andre Kostic, who's hit 4 threes in the first half for the Wildcats. One more free throw coming. This to extend the Kansas lead to 3. And got it. Jamari McDowell back in for Kansas. He will replace Tiller, who goes to the bench with a 12-point first half. Wildcats bringing up the floor down 3. And now a drive to the basket and a foul. Haggerty will go right back to the free throw line. Foul's on Flory Badunga. That's his first. And PJ Haggerty, who hit 2 free throws just the previous possession, will head right back there. First of 2 up and no good. Haggerty will have one more. CJ Jones returns to the Wildcats lineup. Haggerty hits the second. 33-31. Jayhawks up to 100 seconds remaining in the first half. Badunga on the outside. Gives it off to Jaden Dawson. Dawson back to the outside. And a tough pass, and Kansas is going to keep it as Kansas State knocks it out of bounds. Jayhawks to inbound with 13 on the shot clock. Badunga lost it momentarily, able to regroup. Then it goes back inside to Badunga for a dunk. Badunga had passed it off, and then Badunga was cutting to the basket after the pass and gets an easy dunk. 35-31, Kansas up 4. Wildcats to inbound. That's a dangerous pass. Kansas State able to get it. Haggerty, the floater, no, but it's tipped in by Buka off the miss. Doran Buka with 6, 35-33. Final minute, first half. Here's Council. The runner got it. Melvin Council now in double figures with 11. 37-33, Jayhawks. Here's Castillo. Backing it out for Kansas State. Could have gone 2 for 1, but that's out the door now. Haggerty. The layup is good. Haggerty with his first field goal. He's got 5, and the Kansas lead is 2, 37-35. Kansas, for all intents and purposes, can run for the first half. They shoot early and miss the shot. Rebound to Buka. They left Kansas State 20 seconds. Haggerty drives inside. Haggerty sends it back out, and now the Wildcats will slow it down and run for the last shot. Down to 10 seconds. And a timeout called by Jerome Tang. He's going to use his use it or lose it first half timeout with 9.7 remaining in the first half. Surprised Kansas shot the ball that early instead of running down for the final shot. So with 9.7 seconds left in the first half, the Wildcats will have an opportunity for the last shot in the first half. Wildcats to inbound from quarter court. Inbound it comes to Haggerty. Down to 5 seconds. Haggerty looking. Haggerty gives it off. Here comes a three-pointer at the first half buzzer. It's off the rim. And Kansas will take a 2-point lead to the locker room. 37-35 over Kansas State. So a good one in Manhattan, Kansas after 20 minutes. The 19th ranked Kansas Jayhawks up to 37-35 over their state rivals from Kansas State. Update on these current top 25 games in progress. Number 8, Gonzaga, has taken an 11-point lead at the half over San Francisco, 36-25. Halftime in Spokane. And number 17, Alabama, up 20-12 on Tennessee in the first half. midway through the first half in that one in Tuscaloosa. Here it is, a 37-35 lead for Kansas at the break. Let's run down that top 25 scoreboard from today. A lot of top 25 teams in action. Number one, unanimous number one this week in the AP poll, Arizona and West Virginia in Tucson. And Arizona just walloped West Virginia 88-53, the final today in Tucson. Arizona moves to 20-0 on the season. Number two, UConn. They got a big scare at home from Villanova, but UConn able to pull it out in overtime, 75-67. Top five team did go down today, and that was in West Lafayette. Number 4, Purdue falls at home to number 11, Illinois, 88-82. That's the second straight loss for Purdue. They had lost to UCLA earlier in the week. So we'll see how far Purdue falls in the new AP poll that comes out on Monday. Number 5, Duke, no problem today with Wake Forest, 90-69. Number 6, Houston went into Lubbock against number 12, Texas Tech. It was a good game, and number 12, Texas Tech won it over Houston, 90-86. Good win there for the Red Raiders. That should vault them into the top 10 on Monday. Number 7, Nebraska. They moved to 20-0. They trailed by 6 at halftime. That's a game I live streamed earlier on the day against Minnesota, but a huge second half for Nebraska. They won that game going away in the second half, 76-57. Nebraska now 20-0. And with number 4 and number 6 losing, that should vault Nebraska into the top 5 come Monday. Told you number 8, Gonzaga leading at the half, 36-25 over San Francisco. Number 9, Iowa State winning in Stillwater over Oklahoma State rather handily, 84-71. Iowa State led by almost 30, I think, in that game at one point. Number 10, Michigan State wallops Maryland in East Lansing, 91-48. A little bit of a down Maryland team this year. Number 13, BYU over Utah, 91-78. The Holy War on the court goes to BYU. Number 22, North Carolina goes into Charlottesville and knocks off number 14, Virginia today, 85-80. Number 15, Vanderbilt, who started out 16-0, but they came into this game today at Mississippi State having lost 3 in a row. And I think they took their frustrations out on Mississippi State as Vanderbilt just destroyed Mississippi State in Starkville, 88-56. Upset in Gainesville, the defending national champion and number 16 Florida Gators. They fell at home today to Auburn, 76-67. So Florida looked like they might have started to get on track after a slow start after winning the national championship last year, but they fall at home today to Auburn, 76-67. Told you number 17, Alabama in progress against Tennessee, leading that game. That is 22-16 now in the first half. Number 18, Clemson goes into Atlanta, wins at Georgia Tech, 77-63. Number 20, Arkansas ekes out a win over LSU today, 85-81. Number 21, Georgia gets shellacked in Austin as they fall to Texas, 87-67. And number 23, Louisville, 85-71 win today over Virginia Tech. That is the top 25 scoreboard. No top 25 teams in action tomorrow. I will be on for a college basketball live stream tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time out of the American Conference, Florida Atlantic and South Florida. That will be a 1 o'clock live stream tomorrow. That will be on my YouTube and Kick channels tomorrow. Sports Bonanza John on YouTube, Sports Kick John on Kick. And then I will also be on tomorrow for the AFC and NFC championship games for a berth to see who makes it to Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. Patriots and Broncos in the AFC at 3 o'clock. No Bo Nix for the Broncos. Excuse me. Jared Stidham will be out there for the Broncos tomorrow, and we'll be with you tomorrow for the NFC Championship between the Rams and Seahawks in Seattle. So we will know our two representatives in Super Bowl 60 in about 25 hours from now. So with you for some college basketball at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and then the AFC and NFC championship games I will have on the live stream tomorrow as well. All three of those will be live streamed on my YouTube page. College basketball game will be on my Kick stream, and then the AFC and NFC championships, one of those will be on Kick, and one of them will be on Twitch. I'll let you know which one is which tomorrow. Speaking of NFL news, as we steer clear of college basketball for a moment, one of the coaching vacancies in the NFL was filled today. That was in Pittsburgh, as the Pittsburgh Steelers announced former Cowboys and Packers head coach Mike McCarthy as the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh, just with their fourth head coach now since 1969. Mike McCarthy takes over for Mike Tomlin, who was very good in his 19 years as head coach of the Steelers. Of course, he stepped down after the Steelers' season-opening loss in the wild card round. So Mike McCarthy taking over the helm in Pittsburgh as their new head coach. And another bit of news in the coaching search. Man that came out of retirement this year and quarterbacked the Colts for about the last month of the season until the last game, Phillip Rivers. He was interviewed in Buffalo for their head coaching position. Of course, Phillip Rivers was set to go in the Hall of Fame, but got a call, and he came out of retirement to play for the Indianapolis Colts. So he'll have to wait now for another cycle to be Hall of Fame eligible. He was coaching high school down in Alabama, but now he was interviewed by the Buffalo Bills for their head coaching position. Buffalo has not made a coaching hire yet, so we'll see where that goes. Let's go over to the women's side, the top 25 in the women's game today. And number one, UConn, they stayed undefeated. They're now 21-0 as they win 92-52 at Seton Hall today. Few top 25 teams in action on the women's side today. Number 8, Louisville gets an 85-56 win at home over Boston College. Number 9, TCU wins at UCF 67-50. Number 11, Kentucky. They fell at home today to Georgia 72-67 in an upset. Number 19, Texas Tech wins 77-49 at Utah. Number 20, Princeton. Now the Ivy League, they win at Brown 58-49. Princeton now 17-1 on the year. Number 21, Duke, 95-41 win at Pitt today. Number 22, West Virginia, getting set to tip off here in about 30 minutes at BYU. And also a final from the women's game earlier today. Number 24, Nebraska, 81-75 win over Illinois. That's scores from the top 25 in women's basketball. NBA scoreboard. Some finals, the Hornets over the Wizards. That's a matchup of two of the worst teams in the NBA there. Hornets take that 119-115. Knicks get the win in Philly today over the Sixers, 112-109. Games in progress. The big featured game of the NBA today is the Lakers and the Mavericks. Luka Doncic returning to Dallas for the first time since that trade last year, and the Lakers lead 37-28 end of the first quarter there in Dallas. Cleveland winning in Orlando over the Magic 92-79. That's a fourth quarter score. Halftime in Chicago, Celtics lead the Bulls 58-52. And about 25 minutes away from tip-off in Salt Lake City between the Jazz and the Heat. Warriors, Timberwolves, that game was postponed. That game will be played now tomorrow. Game was postponed due to that shooting in Minneapolis today, so they have rescheduled that game for tomorrow. Here it is 37-35. Kansas with a 2-point lead over their rivals from Kansas State. Let's run down some of the first half stats in this game. Jayhawks from the floor, 15 of 27 for 56%. They're just 1 of 5 from three-point range. They did most of their damage inside. 6 of 9 at the free throw line for 67%. For Kansas State, they shot just 12 of 34 in the first half for 35%. 8 of 19 from three-point range, 42%. Kansas State just 4 for 15 from two-point range. 3 for 6 at the free throw line for 50%. Rebound edge went to Kansas State in that first half, 20-16. Both teams were pretty clean. Kansas turned it over 4 times. Kansas State turned it over 3 times. Only 11 fouls called in the first half. Jayhawks were led in that first half by Bryson Tiller's 12 points. Melvin Council Jr. added 11. Elmarco Jackson scored 7 points off the bench. 4 points for Flory Badunga and 3 points for Trey White, rounding out the scoring for Kansas in the first half. For Kansas State, they were led off the bench by Andre Kostick. 4 3-pointers in that first half for Kostick. He had 12 points. 6 points apiece from Taj Manning and Doran Buka. Buka with 10 rebound first half. 5 points for P.J. Haggerty after 34 in their win over Utah. Haggerty, the third leading scorer in Division I, but he was held to 5 points in the first half. Nate Johnson and David Castillo, 3 points apiece for Kansas State in that first half, as the Jayhawks lead at 37-35. As we are just a couple minutes away from starting the second half. Let's take a look at some of the upcoming top 25 games. Of course, we have the new AP poll that's going to come out Monday, so some of these rankings are going to change. We've got a big game coming up Monday night in Provo. Number 1 Arizona will be in Provo to take on number 13 BYU. Again, Arizona's ranking's probably not going to change. BYU's ranking could change by the time that tips off. Arizona and BYU, this is going to be a big test for Arizona, trying to stay undefeated. And they'll have to do it on the road in Provo against BYU. Also on Monday, a top 25 matchup. Duke will play host to Louisville there at Cameron Indoor. And the other 2 undefeated teams in action on Tuesday. One of the big matchups of the week will be Tuesday in Ann Arbor. Number 7 Nebraska taking on number 3 Michigan. If Nebraska is going to stay undefeated, they're going to have to earn it here, as they're going to make that trip now to Ann Arbor to take on 18-1 Michigan. The other undefeated team, number 25 Miami of Ohio, in action at home on Tuesday against UMass. So those are some upcoming top 25 matchups this week for the 3 undefeated teams. Arizona and Nebraska, both big tests on the road if they want to stay undefeated. Teams getting their final instructions here before the second half begins in Manhattan. 37-35 lead for the 19th ranked Kansas Jayhawks over Kansas State. Kansas doing most of their damage inside the paint. They've got 22 points in the paint in the first half. Both teams with their original starting 5 out on the floor to begin the second half. 20 minutes to decide this one. Kansas State looking for their 4th consecutive win at home over Kansas. As Kansas will inbound to begin the second half. This is Council. Outside it goes. Nice pass inside, and the finish and the easy layup underneath for Badunga. He's now got 6. 39-35. Kansas the first 2 of the second half. Haggerty with it for the Wildcats. He'll pull up inside and has the shot blocked. Kansas State gets to the rebound, and Nate Johnson misses a 3. Rebound to Badunga of Kansas. And a pass there is a bad one, and Kansas State takes it away. First turnover of the second half against the Jayhawks. Their 5th of the game. And now top of the key 3 is no good, but another offensive rebound for Kansas State. And the rebound and put up is good for P.J. Haggerty. He's got 7, and it's back to a 2-point game, 39-37. Open 3 in the corner, around and out. Rebound pulled down by Kansas State. Here's Castillo ahead of the floor. No good. Follow, no. And Kansas will pull down the rebound. A quick pace here to open the second half. And we have a foul inside on Kansas State. Think this one's going to go against... I think they got Buka on that. So Trey White heading to the line for Kansas for 2 shots. First free throw up and good. One more coming for White. $15-point-a-game scorer this season for Trey White. And he hits both free throws, so he's got 5 now tonight. And the Jayhawk lead is 4, 41-37. Just over a minute and a half old, second half. Haggerty brings it up the floor for the Wildcats. Draws a double team on the outside. Gives it off to Buka. Buka now Nate Johnson. Johnson looking to drive. Johnson does get inside, sends it back outside for a 3-point shot that's no good. Rebound pulled down by Council for Kansas. And we're going to have a traveling violation. That's going to be a walk against Jamari McDowell. Bill Self not happy now on the Kansas sideline. Haggerty with it for the Wildcats. Haggerty looking to drive. And now we'll send it back outside. And the runner is no good. And out of bounds over to Kansas. Kansas State now just 1 for 8 shooting to start the second half. And the Wildcats will bring Kostick back in. He hit 4 3-pointers in the first half for the Wildcats. Was their leading scorer. Nate Johnson's going to get a breather. Council will bring it up the floor for the Jayhawks. Badunga. Outside it goes. And now Trey White at the top of the key now drives inside. Now gets fouled on the way up. Trey White will go right back to the line. Fouls on David Castillo. That's his first. First of 2 up and good. And a very quick breather for Nate Johnson as he quickly returns to the game for the Wildcats. White's second free throw is good. White now with 7, and the Jayhawk lead is 6, 43-37. Working it around the outside. This is Haggerty with it for the Wildcats. Haggerty on the drive. Haggerty puts it up off the glass and in. PJ Haggerty now with 9, 43-39, Kansas. In the corner is McDowell. Off it goes to Trey White. Jayhawks reset, 7 to shoot. Council the runner. That's too hard. Offensive rebound for the Jayhawks, but they can't save it. It's going to go out of bounds to Kansas State. Now Bill Self having another discussion with the officiating crew. Haggerty brings it up the floor for the Wildcats to Nate Johnson. Back to Haggerty. Now Haggerty drives inside, pulls up the off-balance shot. That's well short. Rebound pulled down by the Jayhawks. Haggerty just 3 for 11 shooting the ball. Shot clock at 10 for Kansas. A deep three-pointer on the way is around and out, but an offensive rebound, and the putback is short. And they're going to get a foul. That's going to be on Castillo. Castillo called for his second. 43-39 Kansas. 15:43 to play. And Kansas will be at the free throw line on the other side of the timeout. Kansas State has dropped to 32% shooting. Kansas at 50%. Gonzaga's up on San Francisco in the second half, 50-41. Alabama late first half has a 4-point lead on Tennessee, 39-35. The other two top 25 teams in action right now. So following the timeout, Kansas will be at the free throw line. for a couple of free throws. So here comes some free throws for Kansas. Up by 4 with 15:43 to go. Bryson Tiller will be at the free throw line. He's got 12 points in this game tonight. First of 2 at the line for Tiller, up and good. One more free throw coming for Tiller. And good. Kansas now 12 of 15 at the free throw line, and the Jayhawks lead by 6. Nate Johnson bringing it up the floor for the Wildcats. This is Haggerty now with it. Haggerty looking to drive. Haggerty the spin. Kicks it out in the corner. Kostick, no. Rebound to Kansas. In the corner, a three-pointer. That's around the rim and out. Offensive rebound for the Jayhawks. And a nice save there, and a layup is good by Flory Badunga. It was a scrum for the ball. Badunga ended up with it and got a pretty easy layup underneath. And the Jayhawks have their largest lead now of 8, 47-39. And a timeout. No, not a timeout. And Jerome Tang just got teed up for Kansas State. Jerome Tang just got teed up by Kip Kissinger. And Trey White at the free throw line hits the first. Boy, Jerome Tang was not happy when the ball was coming back down the floor. He was in the official's ear for a lot in the first half, and I think Kip Kissinger finally had enough and teed him up. And both free throws are good from White, and it's now a 10-point lead for Kansas, and the Wildcats have the ball. Haggerty with it. Haggerty drives inside, puts it up off the glass and scores. Haggerty now in double figures with 11. Big basket there for the Wildcats, 49-41. Badunga sends it outside to McDowell. McDowell with it now. 6 to shoot for Kansas. McDowell tries a 3. That's too strong. Rebound pulled down by Kansas State. Wildcats will slow it up. Castillo now on the outside. 14-minute mark, second half. Here's Haggerty. Haggerty drives. Haggerty sends it outside. Castillo for 3. Good. David Castillo with his second 3. 5 straight for Kansas State. Now Jerome Tang fired up for his team now on the Kansas State sideline as it's down to a 5-point game. And at the other end, a 3. No. Rebound pulled down by the Wildcats, and it's out of bounds to who? Kansas. Kansas to inbound in front of their bench. Thirteen and a half minutes to play. Castillo coming out for a breather for the Wildcats. Badunga with it for the Jayhawks outside to Council. Council will try a three-pointer and drill it. Melvin Council Jr. with a three. He's now got 14. And the Jayhawks lead by 8, 52-44. Haggerty gets fouled. They're going to get Badunga, I think. Badunga not happy with that call. First foul the second half on Kansas. It is a shooting foul, however, and Haggerty will head to the line. Haggerty starting to heat up here in the second half for Kansas State. First free throw was good. Haggerty hits them both. He's now got the team high for Kansas State with 13. Lead is a half dozen for the Jayhawks. McDowell with it on the outside. McDowell now driving. McDowell gets free and lays it in with the left. No, they're going to wave it off. It's an offensive foul against Kansas. Now Bill Self expressing his displeasure with the official. That's foul number 3, too, on Flory Badunga. He got him and Doran Buka underneath the basket for Kansas State, locked arms, and they got Badunga with his third foul. So here come the Wildcats. Chance to cut into this 6-point deficit. Haggerty with it on the Wildcats logo. Now Haggerty drives. Haggerty pulls up in the paint. That's short. Rebound, Kansas. Now Kansas back the other way. Here's Council on the outside. Council, cross-court pass. And the foul underneath will be against Kansas State. Foul goes against Andre Kostick. That's his first. Team foul number 4 on the Wildcats here in the second half. To the line goes Elmarco Jackson. Jackson's first is good. Jackson has one more. This to push the lead back to 8. And he does. Jackson now with 9. 54-46 lead for the Jayhawks. As we approach 12 minutes remaining. Castillo tries to find Jackson, now does. And now from the foul line, and that is knocked out of bounds by Kansas. It will stay Kansas State ball with 7 on the shot clock. We're at the under 12 timeout. 11:56 to play. Jayhawks 54-46 over the Wildcats. Kansas now has dropped under 50% shooting, but barely. They're at 49%. Just 2 for 11 from three-point range, though, at 18%. Wildcats 16 of 48 from the floor for 33%. They're 9 of 24 from three-point range, 38%. Kansas has taken the rebound edge now by 3, 27-24. Kansas State looking to come back and win for the 4th straight time at home over Kansas. Update on those other top 25 teams. Number 8 Gonzaga 60-55 over San Francisco. Number 17 Alabama leading by 3 at the half over Tennessee, 39-36. Wildcats will inbound out of the timeout underneath their basket. Inbound comes in to Buka. Buka now on the outside. Nate Johnson has to throw that up, and it's a shot clock violation. I think the tip went in. Kansas State thinks it should count, but I think that's going to be a shot clock violation. And it is. Kip Kissinger just called a shot clock violation. They're going to probably go to the monitor to look at this just to make sure. I didn't think the follow was there in time. Yeah, it wasn't. This is going to stand. That didn't take long to see that the basket was late. Jayhawks look for a double-digit lead this trip. Council outside in the three-point arc. Now over it goes to Tiller. Shot clock down to 5 for Kansas. Here's the drive inside. Shot is blocked by Buka. Council gets it back, and the reverse is no good. And the follow is good. Nope, that's going to be too late. Shot clock violation on Kansas. So back-to-back shot clock violations, one on each side. Kansas turns it over for the 9th time. Haggerty brings it up the floor for the Wildcats. 54-46 lead for Kansas. Haggerty on the drive. Sends it out to Castillo. Castillo drives inside in the paint, puts it up and in. David Castillo now has 8. 54-48. Jayhawks lead is 6. Here's Council. Over to McDowell. McDowell finds Jackson. Jackson at the top of the key, back over to McDowell. McDowell will try a three-pointer. That's too strong. Tipped. Kept alive by Kansas. And a fresh 20 on the shot clock and an open 3. That's short. Rebound pulled down by the Wildcats this time. Kostick with that rebound for Kansas State. Haggerty on the drive. Haggerty's layup is good, and this is a 4-point game, 54-50. Haggerty, after a quiet first half, all of a sudden has 15. Drive inside, off-balance jumper. That won't go. Rebound. And now another late foul against Kansas State. This one's going to go on Nate Johnson. That's his third. That's about the third time that against Kansas State that a foul has been called very, very late. That's team foul number 5, so it'll just be an inbound under the basket. Off the inbound, Trey White with the jumper. And Trey White now in double figures with 11. Jayhawks have now placed 3 in double figures, 56-50. Haggerty dribbling on the outside for the Wildcats. Haggerty looking to drive. Haggerty sends it out. A three-pointer on the way is too strong. And a high rebound pulled down by Badunga of Kansas. And now a loose on the floor. Kansas State almost had the steal right there. And now a step-back three-pointer is good. Elmarco Jackson with the 3. And the Jayhawks, just like that, go up by 9. Jackson becomes the 4th Kansas Jayhawk in double figures as he's got 12. Haggerty inside the paint, got fouled. No, they're going to get him for a travel. So Haggerty called for steps. And Kansas once again looks to extend the lead to double digits. Council bringing it up the floor for the Jayhawks. Council off to White. Trey White on the drive. Got stripped and stolen. Wildcats back the other way, coast to coast, and a foul. As Haggerty went coast to coast on that one for the Wildcats. Haggerty was fouled by Council. And Haggerty heads to the line. First free throw is good. Haggerty scored 28 of his 34 points in the win over Utah in the second half. He's got 11 in the second half in this game. Make it 12 as he hits the second free throw. 59-52. Kansas up 7, 8.5 to go. Kansas working it around the arc on the outside. Trey White with it. Shot clock at 10 for Kansas. Here's Council on the drive. Council shot was altered and pulled down by the Wildcats. And now we're going to have an offensive foul. Looks like they're going to get Taj Manning for his third following the rebound. Oh, yeah, he did put an elbow up in Council. And let's see if they go to the monitor and look at that. It was inadvertent. But he did get the elbow up in Council's nose area, and they are going to the monitor. This is going to serve as the under 8 timeout with 8:11 to play. (59-52) Kansas, and we will see if there's anything more than just a common foul here, as the officials are going to look at this at the timeout. Kansas has dropped to 45% shooting. Kansas State at 35%. So 59-52. (8:11) remaining. No flagrant there. And Kansas State has the ball. How? 8 to play. When I do these live streams, I've got the sound down, so I'm sure they're saying, I thought they got a foul on Kansas State, but then, and Haggerty hits a three. Haggerty now has 20, and this is a 4-point game with 7:40 to go. Badunga drives inside. Layup, no, but he gets fouled, and Badunga will head to the line. Foul is whistled on Johnson. That's his third. 59-55 Kansas. 7:26 to play. Second half. Badunga will be at the free throw line for Kansas out of the timeout. Again, want to remind you, 3 live streams coming up tomorrow. All will be on my YouTube page at Sports Bonanza John. 2 of them will be live streamed on Kick. 1 of them will be live streamed on Twitch. We start at 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow with a college basketball matchup between Florida Atlantic and South Florida. A matchup in the American Conference. That starts the day on the live stream. And then we move to Championship Sunday in the NFL at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Patriots and Broncos AFC Championship game. And then that will be followed at 6:30 Eastern time with the NFC Championship game. Rams and Seahawks. And by the end of tomorrow night, we will have our 2 teams heading to Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. So college basketball and both conference championship games on the live stream tomorrow. Here we have 7:26 to play. Kansas leading 59-55 over Kansas State. Looks like we've got a good finish in store in this one. Bramlage Coliseum is rocking. Flory Badunga at the line for Kansas here out of the timeout. First of 2, up and good. One more coming for Badunga. He misses the second. So the lead is 5 for the Jayhawks. Haggerty brings it up the floor for the Wildcats. This is Nate Johnson now on the outside. And we have got a foul underneath. This one's going to go against Kansas. Looks like they're going to get Melvin Council Jr. with his third. So Council, Badunga, and Jackson, 3 fouls apiece for Kansas. Kansas State has Taj Manning and Nate Johnson with 3 fouls. Here comes a three-pointer, but nope, it's not going to count as we're going to have a foul again against Kansas. Bill Self thought it should have been offensive. Team foul number 5 on the Jayhawks. And here's Haggerty. Excuse me, team foul number 6 on the Jayhawks. Haggerty inside, gets cut off. Outside, a 3 for Nate Johnson is short. Rebound Kansas, and then a foul over the back on the rebound. This one's going to go against Taj Manning. That's going to be his 4th. And Kansas will head to the line for a 1-and-1. One and one here for Elmarco Jackson as he tries to push the lead back to 7. And first free throw is good. One more free throw coming as he gets the bonus. Got them both. Jackson with 14. Kansas lead is 7 as we approach 6.5 to play. Johnson inside off the glass. Too strong. Rebound pulled down by the Jayhawks. Council. Now working it on the outside. This is Dawson over to Trey White. White now out on the outside. 10 to shoot for Kansas. Here's White. Tries to fake the move. Badunga, the turn, and puts it in with the left hand. Badunga now with 11. 5th Jayhawk in double figures. 64-55. The Kansas lead back to 9. Haggerty with it on the Wildcat logo. Now draws a double team. Gets it off to Nate Johnson. Off to a wide open Kustuk who misses a 3. Rebound to Kansas. Boy, Kostic has cooled off since hitting his first 4 from 3-point range. Hasn't hit one since. And we have a foul. Count that. And a foul. Council with the and 1 basket. And Council with the free throw to complete a 3-point play. And the Jayhawks with their largest lead of the game of 12. Timeout, Jerome Tang and Kansas State with 5:37 as this is getting away from the Wildcats. $67-55. 5:37 to play. Kansas is on an 8-0 run right now to give themselves a little bit of space between them and Kansas State. Again, with this schedule coming up in the next 2 weeks for Kansas, this is a pretty much a must-win game for them, as they've got a gauntlet coming up. Four of the Jayhawks' next 5 games against top 13 teams. Now, they do have a week off before BYU comes to Allen Fieldhouse next Saturday. Wildcats inbound out of the timeout. Haggerty on the drive gets fouled, and he will head to the free throw line. And Haggerty is down underneath the basket. Haggerty's been getting a little beat up tonight. He does get back up. Foul is going to be on Trey White. That's his second. PJ Haggerty with 20 points tonight, heading to the free throw line. First is up and short. One more free throw coming for Haggerty. And hits that one. He's got 21 now, 67-56. Jayhawk lead is 11. With 5.5 to go, Bryson Tiller checks back in the Jayhawk lineup. On the outside now is Council. Council looking for help, gives it over to Trey White. Back to Council. 10 on the shot clock. Jayhawks work it inside. Badunga lays it in. That's if he gets down that low, forget it. Badunga has 13. 69-56. Kansas up 13. Haggerty with it for the Wildcats on the outside. Haggerty drives. Haggerty just kind of threw that up there. No good. Wildcats with the offensive rebound, but then they throw it away. Marcus Johnson checks back in for Kansas State. Inbound comes to Council. Over to Jackson. Back to Council. And underneath on an alley-oop from Council to Badunga. Badunga has 15, and that's the Kansas lead, 71-56. What a pass that was from Council to Badunga. Johnson. Nate Johnson will pull up, and he will hit it. Nate Johnson now with 5, with just his second field goal of the game. 71-58. Four minutes to go in this one. Jackson with it. To Council. Council in three-point range gives it off to Jackson, who takes the open three and hits it. Elmarco Jackson with 17 off the bench for Kansas. The Jayhawk lead is 16 as they have pulled away here in the second half, and we've got a foul on the outside. This one's going to go against Kansas. Bryson Tiller whistled for the foul. We've got the under 4 Jayhawks on their way to snapping their 3-game losing streak in Manhattan. 74-58, 3:41 to go. We have got a developing situation going on in Spokane. San Francisco has closed to within 2 of Gonzaga. 68-66, 29 seconds remaining. So San Francisco looking for the shocker on the road in Spokane. Tennessee and Alabama are tied at 57 in the second half. 11:19 remaining in that one. Mentioned that live stream, college basketball live stream coming up tomorrow between South Florida and Florida Atlantic before the AFC and NFC championship games. Try to be back on with you Monday night for a college basketball live stream as well. Conference I haven't done this year yet, the Southland Conference. Going to look at Stephen F. Austin. They are 17-3 on the season against Northwestern State. Try to have that on the live stream for you on Monday. So Kansas looking to close this one out. Melvin Council, by the way, with that last assist on the alley-oop, now has a double-double, 17 points and 10 assists. Front end of the 1-and-1 is good here. Council needs just 3 more rebounds for a triple-double. One more free throw coming for Haggerty. And that's good. Haggerty with 23. Kansas up 14, 74-60. Jackson brings it up the floor for the Jayhawks. It looks like they're going to use a little bit of clock and just run the offense here. Council with it on the outside. Shot clock at 10. Council now looking to drive. Will put it up off the glass. No good, but a rebound for Badunga and put back with the left hand. Flory Badunga with 17. He's 1 rebound shy of a double-double. The runner at the other end is way off. Rebound to the Jayhawks. 3 minutes to play. Kansas has lost 3 straight times in Manhattan against the Wildcats, but it appears that losing streak is going to come to an end. Inside, Badunga again gets down low, sends it back outside. 3 to shoot off the glass, and good for Bryson Tiller. Excuse me, I'm sorry, for Marco Jackson. 19 on the night for Jackson off the bench. Deep three-pointer for Kansas State's an air ball, and that's going to go out of bounds to the Jayhawks. With 2:18 to play. Jayhawks just going to be content taking as much time off the clock each possession as they can. Council, another alley-oop. This one again to Badunga. That's your exclamation point. And Kansas leads by 20, 80-60. This is only a 2-point game at the half. But it has been all Jayhawks in the second half. Kansas State had got it down to 4, but Kansas is on a 21-5 run to close this game out. Council just dribbling as he crosses midcourt. Down under a minute and a half. Jayhawk fans rise to their feet at Bramlage Coliseum. Council, pull-up jumper, no. Kansas with the offensive rebound. Great hustle and a fresh 20 seconds. Final minute. Council on the drive. Council tries the lob again, and they get it again. Flory Badunga, boy, Kansas just getting whatever they want here now. Layup at the other end is good. 82-62. Kansas will move to 15-5 overall, 5-2 in the Big 12. This is a big win with that stretch of games coming up for the Jayhawks. Are they going to try it again? No, Council's just going to launch a 3. No good. Offensive rebound, put back, and good for Bryson Tiller. 84-62. And a strip and a steal. Yes, it is. And a dunk for Trey White. Boy, Kansas with a huge burst here at the end of the second half. 86-62. Kansas snaps their 3-game losing streak in Manhattan. Wins it going away, and they are now, as I mentioned, 15-5 overall, 5-2 in the Big 12. Kansas State falls to 10-10 overall, 1-6 in Big 12 play. As Kansas outscored Kansas State 49-27 in the second half. And they win it going away, 86-62, the final score. Final stats in this one real quick. Kansas ends up 53% from the floor, 31 of 58. 4 of 16 from three-point range, 25%. 20 of 24 at the free throw line, 83%. For Kansas State, they end 21 of 61. Just 34% shooting tonight, 10 of 29. From three-point range at 34% and 10 of 14 at the free throw line for 71%. Rebound edge went to Kansas, ends up pretty handily, 39-28 on the boards. Turnovers, Kansas turned it over 10 times. Kansas State turned it over 8. 21 points for Flory Badunga with 10 rebounds led the way for Kansas tonight. 19 out of Elmarco Jackson off the bench. 17 points for Melvin Council Jr., 16 points for Bryson Tiller, and 13 points for Trey White. All 5 players scored for Kansas, every one of them in double figures. For Kansas State, they were led by P.J. Haggerty's 23 points, another big second half for him, although in a losing effort this time. 12 points off the bench for Andre Kostick. 8 points out of Taj Manning and David Castillo. 6 points out of Dorian Buca. And 5 points out of Nate Johnson for Kansas State scoring tonight. Again, Kansas now has a week off before they entertain BYU at Allen Fieldhouse next Saturday. Kansas State is back in action on Tuesday as they hit the road to Morgantown to take on West Virginia. 86-62, the final score. Jayhawks win it over Kansas State. That's going to wrap it up on the live stream tonight. Again, my name is John, Sports Bonanza John on YouTube. If you like my content, would appreciate a like and subscribe. Also on Twitch tonight at Sport Guru John. I will be back with you tomorrow afternoon for another college basketball live stream. Florida Atlantic and South Florida. That is at 1 o'clock Eastern time, a matchup in the American Conference. Followed by the AFC and NFC championship games on the live stream. So a busy day on the live stream tomorrow. Florida Atlantic and South Florida will be live streamed on my YouTube and Kick pages tomorrow. Or YouTube and Kick streams, I should say. That's going to do it. Kansas wins it, moves to 15-5, 86-62 the final. Appreciate you joining me, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow for some more college basketball action. Florida Atlantic and South Florida out of the American Conference. Good night, everybody. God bless.